Hello friends, this is the first video of my channel. Today we are going to talk about a story in which a 40-year-old woman named Isabella and a 45-year-old man named Daniel were murdered, and the killer entered their house at night to kill these two people, and it is strange that the killer said in court when he was arrested, if he goes back in time, he will kill them. But why did he have to hate Isabella and Daniel so much? Come with me. This incident goes back to the end of 2010, i.e. 14 years ago. On a cold winter night in one of the cities of New York, a middle-aged man named Michael had a courtyard house that he rented to two people named Isabella and Daniel. He hears Dad screams and is curious to know what is going on there. Amal waits for the situation to calm down a bit, and then when he went downstairs he saw the body of his tenant Daniel lying on the floor of the yard covered in blood. Michael immediately called the police, and then to find out in what condition was Isabella in the house, she entered the house cautiously, but unfortunately she saw Isabella's body in the same condition that she had been murdered. It was clear that Daniel had been stabbed in the head and neck with a bullet in his head. They were in Isabella too, but the killer killed Isabel with many knife blows. When the police arrived, he asked the neighbors about Daniel and Isabella, but no one knew them much, and Michael, the owner of the house, said that the two of them had been married for a few months and left. They didn't have a special relationship with anyone, and they didn't see any acquaintances or relatives from them. There was no mess inside the house and no items were stolen, and this showed that the motive of the murderer or murderers for this crime could not have been robbery. But since Fariba's body was more torn, it can be said that the killer's goal was the same. There was a 40-year-old woman who was married and the mother of 3 children. But Daniel means that the man who was killed with her was her husband. In fact, Fariba was born in a poor family almost 23 years ago. That is, when Isabella was a 17-year-old girl, her family gave her to a man who was 32 years older than Isabel. That is, the man was 49 years old at the time. He couldn't bear the hard work. He sold shoes in the streets and waxed people's shoes. Isabella had 3 children from this man: Sharaz, 22 years old, Behai, 14 years old, and Freya, 10 years old, which means 2 boys and a girl. As I said, Isabella was not very old when she got married, and she was unhappy with the fact that she was given to a man who was so much older than her husband, and she asked her husband to divorce her several times, but his wife did not agree. Isabella is not from the family. A father would get support for divorce and not his husband would agree to divorce. Isabella's parents didn't know that their daughter's patience was over, and she didn't want to stay in the same house with her old husband anymore, so Fariba made another decision, a very dangerous one. She decided to marry a man away from her husband's eyes in the name of 45-year-old Daniel, whom he met recently. Run away. Maybe you are thinking to yourself now, what could be the danger of Isabella's 72-year-old wife, who has passed away? But the truth of the matter is that her husband has passed away, but their 22-year-old son Sharaz was one of those children who was headless, and on the other hand, he was very committed and loved his father very much. And Isabella also knew that her son could be very dangerous, but knowing all this, Isabella ran away to her boyfriend Daniel's house. In short, these things passed and passed, until a year passed after Isabella's escape. They went to New York. During this year, Sharaz was desperately looking for her mother's south hiding place, and she told everyone that if she found her mother, she would punish her. He finds his mother's place on his own and walks with them to New York with a number of hot and cold weapons. Before her mother ran away, Sharaz had suspected her that she was having a relationship with someone and had a feeling of failure, and she was convinced exactly when her mother had already run away. Sharaz thought to himself that his father was waxing people as shoes in the streets at this old age, and that his father was very oppressed and his mother had wronged him with the betrayal she had committed against him. Well, now Sharaz managed to find his mother's place. On the night of the incident, Sharaz and his friend had entered the house through the door and wall of Daniel's house. Unfortunately, Daniel was in the yard at the same time and was stabbed by Sharaz and his friend's knife and weapon. After killing him, Sharaz entered the house and there he confronts his mother. Sharaz doesn't allow her to talk, and at the same time, he shoots her in the head. Then, to make sure of Isabella's death, he stabs her in the head and chest with a knife, and they leave. But the question here is, does Michael, the owner of the house, not hear these noises, or did he not go to Daniel and Isabella's help out of fear for his own life and that of his family? If you were in Michael's place, please tell me what you would do in the comments. Well, after checking the CCTV cameras of that neighborhood and researching about Isabella, the police find out that her son said everywhere that he will find her mother and kill her. The police arrest them and take them to the court. But the interesting thing is that Isabella's parents are present in the court and they say that they have no complaint against their granddaughter, Sharaz, and her friend, and the same was the punishment for their daughter, and Isabella's husband also says the same. Only Daniel's mother is satisfied. It is not enough to satisfy Sharaz and his friend that by paying a ransom, he will also be satisfied and they will be released. Well, do you think that Isabella and Daniel were really right?